I was stretching my neck. I'm curious to know if there's little pops on there.
I should hold the microphone up to my back sometime when I just bend down.
Yeah.
Ugh,
We can create a whole YouTube channel or that sound. SYML.
ASMR. It's okay. I can't tell you what ASMR means.
Audio.
No, it's something.
Soothing.
Nope. Okay, now I gotta look.
Microphone.
Now I gotta look. I should include this in the episode.
Linguists. Audio soothing microphone linguists.
Autonomous sensory meridian response.
Oh.
Yeah, you would have figured that out eventually, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Meridian.
In case I do include this in the episode, it's because for noise reduction purposes, we record 20 seconds of silence before we record, and Jennifer thinks her neck might be popping.
Mm-hmm. Snap, crackle, pop.
And with that said, I should play a theme song now.
Go.
Welcome back, everyone, to Pod of Thrones. I'm Jeff.
I'm Jennifer.
How are you, babe?
I'm excellent.
Mexcellent?
Mexcellent. I'm excellent.
Is that a new dish at Taco Bell?
That's a good one. We should pitch that.
I think they had some. I want to say there was like a Mexamelt or something once. I swear.
Yes, I think there was a Meximelt.
Yeah.
But Mexcellent tacos.
So you sound like you're good enough to eat. Mm-mm.
Oh. Well, thank you.
So we took a slightly unexpected break. Last we recorded, we said, we'll be right back with the Why the Last Man
You know
episode.
what? You don't even need to talk about it because this is how we start every episode.
No. Well, people like to know what's
That's
going
what you
on.
said last
People like
episode.
to know what's going on with us.
What's going on with you?
Very little. I've been working. I'm back in the office a fair amount. Still working from home sometimes. Well, I mean, look, if people really care about us, my son and I are about to start an 8-week intensive course to prepare us for our black belt in Taekwondo test. So that's exciting.
That is exciting.
Is it
Congratulations.
exciting?
Yes, that's a feat. A fiat.
I have mixed feelings about it. Like, there was something I watched on YouTube a little while ago. I dove down into like martial arts YouTube, and someone said something that actually rang home to me, which was like, getting your black belt is not a sign of mastery. And I knew that because there's many levels of black belt anyway. Getting a black belt is more of a sign that you've learned all the basics and you're ready to begin.
Right.
Which I think is a fair critique. And
That's
that makes me feel better about
from it, because I think that I would think differently. Yes. If I hadn't actually experienced going to classes, I wasn't sure exactly what a black belt meant, but I know it was you're badass.
Well,
do
but
you
not.
feel like you're badass?
No, I definitely don't. But I can barely do this shit. I mean,
But you can do the moves. That's the thing.
Kind of.
If you slow down and don't break anything, you could do the moves.
Yeah. If my hips stay intact, like they make funny
Right.
popping noises sometimes.
It's not like we're kids where we can just do shit and it doesn't hurt.
Right.
Everything we do hurts.
Like there's stuff I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good at the forms where you're just doing movements on the mat in a specific order.
And that's cool to watch.
But like the highest level kick to learn before becoming a black belt is this tornado kick, which involves like stepping forward, spinning around, having one leg up, and then jumping with the other leg and doing a kick.
It's about knowing the moves and doing them correctly.
It's supposed to be at face height. It's a face kick.
You can't do that.
I can't do it at face.
But you know what? You don't need to because your legs are like super long.
Yeah.
I don't know. You might be kicking somebody's face at that height.
Right.
You're like super
if it's
tall.
if I'm fighting a teenager, I could probably get a Face ID.
Or a 10-year-old.
Maybe
easy.
a 10-year-old. Yeah, no problem. I could kick a 10-year-old's ass.
King of 10-year-olds.
Before Taekwondo, could have gone to the 10-year-old. It's really hard to say. But now I feel pretty confident I could take on a 10-year-old.
That's a feat.
Well, I wanted to include in here a special kind of like awareness shout out because I feel these things are important. 2 weekends ago, we couldn't record because you were not in, but at the hospital for a lot of the weekend. We've talked before about your son's diabetes.
Sure.
And I think people care about that, but also diabetes awareness can be important.
Sure.
And if you're ever looking for a charity to donate to, there are good diabetes charities out there. The JDRF is probably the most prominent one. Mm-hmm. Isn't there an
Padres Foundation? I think it's padresfoundation.org, but don't quote me on that. It could be something else.
Is that one local? I thought that was like a Southern California one. I might be wrong.
I believe it's Southern California.
Okay.
But I'm not positive.
Yeah.
They are educational. They like give free classes for families with diabetes or anybody that wants to learn about how to deal with diabetes. So if you have a friend that might have type 1 diabetes, this is not for type 2 diabetes. These sites, they're supportive and helpful, but most of it is geared for people that are 100% independent or insulin dependent. Mm-hmm. So it's got a lot of information about that, but they give free classes to people and teach them everything they need to know about the emergencies, how to deal with them, how to use certain items that are, essential for a diabetic. And it's really helpful. I don't know if they're doing online classes right now, but they used to do in person. Yeah, I think they are doing online, but they might charge a small, like $5 fee or something. I don't know.
The thing is, like, it's not like you have a kid who got very unlucky and now has type 1 diabetes, but it could be someone that you start to date. It could be someone that you work with.
Brother, sister, grandma.
And it can be handy to know what happens. Like you told me a story once. Was it someone that you were working with who had diabetes maybe? Or was it just a story that you had heard secondhand of like someone who left work and started driving home and got very...
Somebody from work who's a good friend of mine, and it doesn't matter who. They have type 1 diabetes. They've had it all their lives, and they've managed it very well with very little insulin because he's so very strict about his diet. He knows what not to eat, and he just doesn't.
Sounds smart.
He might drink a little bit, and he said that's his biggest issue for dosing. But anyway, he's driving home in a company vehicle, and I don't remember if he felt dizzy or what, but he pulled over to the side of the road, thankfully. And all he could do was hit the last person. He hit redial on his phone. He didn't know who he was calling. He just had to call somebody because he did not feel right. And he didn't know where he was. He didn't know who he was calling, but he's like, I need help. And they had to like say, okay, where you're at. And he had to look around and best identify where he was. Because his blood sugar was so low that he was going into diabetic shock, I guess they would call it. But it's when your blood sugar drops too low because you've had too much insulin. Like you didn't eat everything you were supposed to or whatever, which that was his case. He didn't eat. He like dosed and he forgot to eat or whatever. So somebody had to come, or they called an ambulance. I don't know which, but had to come pick him up and get him some juice or whatever it was he had. But you get to where you don't even know what's what.
Yeah.
It's very scary.
Well, so now your son's out of the woods now, and he had problems with his blood sugar was too high. And
right. So he's a teenager and he thinks he knows best about his own body and what he can ignore and what he can't ignore, and what he can't ignore is video games. What he can't ignore is his diabetes.
Right.
So he's tired. He's sick and tired of hearing dose for this, dose for that. And, having to control his food. It's just it's annoying. And when you're a teenager, I get it. It's the last thing you want to deal with. But it's life-threatening. And he found out this last week how life-threatening it was. I think he had not been dosing properly for a long time, which was probably already weighing on his system. And then his pump stopped working because he hadn't changed his sight in 5 days or something like that. And you're supposed to change it every 3. So
yep.
He started throwing up, and within 12 hours, he was very, 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 very sick. I've never seen him so sick. Not even when he gets the flu, because flus really fuck with diabetics. He happened to go to Knott's Scary Farm, which also was taxing on his system too, you know. That
being a scary version of a normally happy theme park.
Anytime your blood sugar goes high, or anytime you're like, what is it called?
Scared, your heart rate goes up.
Right, your heart rate goes up. It messes with your blood sugar. So anyway, I looked at him, and he just looked like he was going to die. He could barely walk. He couldn't talk. Like, his mouth wouldn't work. It was very scary. So he was in the hospital a couple days, but he's fine now, and hopefully learned a very valuable lesson.
Hopefully. I mean, so far, I think he's been better.
He's definitely been better. His blood sugars have been great this past week, but the doctor said with teenagers, they typically go on, they'll get really sick and then they'll fix themselves for 3 months or so, but then they forget again, just like other people forget.
Sure. That happens in lots of different walks of life. I mean,
having babies.
You hear you have a baby and then you're like, never again.
Exactly. And then, a year later, you're like, oh, baby.
I was going to say, like, someone with depression, they'll take their medicine, then they'll feel better, and then be like, I don't need this shit anymore. And then they'll go off their medicine.
Yes. Just like anything with humans.
You hear about that a lot. Yeah. Well, humans.
Me, I do that all the time. I'm like, I don't want to take medication. I hate it. And so I won't take medication. Then I get really messed up. I'm like, I guess I got to take this stupid medication.
I guess I'm too much of a, I don't know if I'm just a chicken or what, but I mean, the only major thing I take all the time is for high blood pressure, which is a daily thing. But I just like, if I don't take it, I could have a stroke and become like a prisoner in my own body. I think that's kind of where my head's at. Like, it's not worth it. I'll just take it every day, even though I don't like taking pills.
Yeah. Nothing I take is life threatening.
Yeah.
In ways. I mean, it's quality of life threatening.
Sure. Well, yeah. That's where I was thinking something along those lines. So that's where we're at. But hey, here we are. And since it's been a while, I have a feeling this is going to be a supersized episode. But you guys, well, I was going to say deserve it, but maybe we're inflicting it on them. I'm not sure at this point. Let us know. Do you deserve it, or have we inflicted this on you? I even wrote down an agenda. That's how much. Like today. So we got a couple Game of Thrones headlines. Then we're going to talk about sort of like what's coming up on the slate, because there's a lot of shit about. It's been sort of.
I think you should let me read the headlines and then you can comment on them.
Well, it's not going to be very exciting for you, but I'll hand it over to you. That's fine.
Yes, give it to me.
And then. But don't even bother clicking the links. You can just get what you need to know out of the URL. I'm just going to say it,
and you're going to tell me what it is.
And then we're going to talk about shit we've been watching, a lot of which involves Game of Thrones in its own little offhanded ways. So I'm going to hand you my phone now.
Okay, this is going to be exciting.
Just the top 2 things, and, well, you could read us the itinerary, too.
Okay.
All right, let's start with the top thing. Game of Thrones headlines.
All right. So, upcoming is House of the Dragon. We watched the official teaser. Do you want to talk about it?
What I found hilarious was the last episode we did. We were like, okay, well, here's news about this and that and this and that. We don't even have a date yet for House of the Dragon. The next day after that episode dropped came this official teaser from HBO that we've been waiting for. So, there's not a lot of content in it. I would suggest watching it. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. Hopefully I remember. But it's just little flashes to scenes that they filmed. They're still doing a lot of work on this show, so it's not even close to being ready. With just one voiceover, I'm not even sure who it is. But what I think I wrote down what he says there. What does he say in the voiceover?
Gods, kings, fire, and blood. Dreams didn't make us kings. Dragons did.
Dreams didn't make us kings. Dragons did, right. And then House of the Dragon with fire all around it.
Yeah. It looks cool, except I cannot stand that big forehead.
You talking about Matt Smith again?
Yes.
God, that poor guy.
I'm so sorry.
There's a lot of other people in the show besides Matt Smith.
Well, I hope it's Not a lot of him.
We saw a mysterious image of someone who's a hand of the king. We saw a king sitting on the throne, but he's not Matt Smith. Matt Smith is not the current Targaryen on the throne in this show. The most interesting thing about that preview, though, I was going to play the audio, but there's really no point. It's just the words Jennifer said and then a lot of images. You got to go watch it if you haven't yet. The most interesting thing out of that preview, I think, was that they completely redid the Iron Throne.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah.
It looks like it's described in the books, and there's been plenty of, artwork over the years based on the books where it shows, the Iron Throne in the series. How would you describe that?
It's like a fan of swords.
Right. Very tidy, very orderly, very symmetrical.
I don't remember the arms and hands being made out of swords, but they must have had him like adorned around it.
Well, I think it was like, they took swords and like wrapped it, so it was like little steel bars all over the place. And then some of it had points and then the pommel sticking out of the top or
this one is like swords had been there and then got melted or something.
Right. It's just like people threw a bunch of swords into a pile and then made a chair out of it, which is how it's described in the books. It's described in the books as like very uncomfortable to sit on, and you'll probably cut yourself while you're sitting there if you move it.
Why didn't they melt it and like make a perfect seat?
Because a throne of swords makes you hard.
Well, you don't have to let one stick you in the butt.
Not that kind of hard.
No, that's not. That's not what I meant.
Jeez, lady, you went like a.
Where's your? That's like from
not
what I meant.
That's like
seven.
That's like seven shit with that little harness that I do wore.
What?
Remember Seven?
Yes.
Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman.
I don't remember.
I don't want to get into the lust. No. Okay, never mind. So that's a headline. If you haven't watched watch it. There's not a lot there, but watch it.
Who's Matt Smith playing again?
Some Targaryen.
Okay, so we don't know if he's good or bad.
That list is in a different file somewhere. Good or bad? Jeez, I don't know. I mean, what are the Targaryens? I have a feeling the Targaryens are our protagonists. There might be some intrigue within the family, but I have a feeling that they will be dealing more with outside forces. That's my best guess.
But there could be like a Jaime. Could be a Jaime or something.
A shithead that can't decide where his loyalties lie.
Right.
Yeah, certainly an option, but I don't know how we would know any of that. Lore Master Kevin maybe could tell us, in terms of what the books say about historical Targaryens.
I bet he could.
I have a feeling that there's not a ton.
I'm going to have to look it up. I'll look it up.
Okay.
All right. So, ready for the next one?
Yeah, kind of.
Got season 9?
Game of Thrones season 9. So this shows up. I get the daily emails of like interesting Game of Thrones headlines, and there's not a lot these days anyway. But I was like, really? And I had to click on it. And at this point, I just have to. Do we have a bell? Can you ring a bell and say shame?
Ding-a-ding-a-ding.
I got to call shame out to winteriscoming.net because they are a Game of Thrones news source. They it's what they do. They look for Game of Thrones news and they talk about it. But this shit was as bad of clickbait as anything I've seen other than like, what are the ones I always see? Winds of Winter release date will finally confirm the parentage of Jaime Lannister or some weird shit like that. People are always doing Winds of Winter release date in their headlines because people search for it all the time. But this is stupid. I mean, clearly some people out there on the internet have been searching for Game of Thrones season 9 and the Winter is Coming people picked up on that it's like a search engine hit. So they wrote a whole article, like many paragraphs of just general jibber jabber, all to conclude by saying, no, there's not going to be a Game of Thrones season 9. No one's been talking about that at HBO. There's no reason to believe that would happen. They put out, but it's a big website. So it made it into the aggregators of like, whoa, winteriscoming.net has this to say. Fucking pisses me off. So winteriscoming.net, I'm kind of over you. I'm sorry. That's not the first time that they've clickbaited me. So. Oh
yeah. I don't even click on things anymore. It's so depressing. Because I'm like, that can't be anything. I know it's nothing. I'm not going to read it. It's going to take up a half hour of my time trying to research whether or not they're saying is truth, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to click it. I think the best place to get news that is accurate is George R. R. Martin's blog.
The not a blog?
Except he always says things are coming and they're really not.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that guy. We can officially pre-order Elden Ring. Do you remember that when we talked about that many months ago?
Mm-hmm.
Xbox advertised it to me last night. I think it's coming out in February. He wrote that video game. He didn't program it or do the artwork for it, obviously, but he's the guy that came up with the storyline, which is probably, full of depth and twists and turns because it's George R.R. Martin.
Yeah.
He had time for that shit. He can't even put out Winds of Winter. I don't know.
Well, he's just not into it. Or
he's just not that into you, Winds of Winter fans.
Or he's going to wait until he dies and release it that day.
It's working for Tolkien. Tolkien's got another book coming out.
Oh.
His family's finishing it up for him.
Aw, that's nice.
We learned that at one of the online Comic-Cons. Yep.
All right. Ready for the next thing on your agenda?
Oh, I thought my phone locked on you and you were about to freak out.
No.
Okay.
I'm good. November, ready?
Our timeline. So these are the shows that are coming up in the very immediate. And I'm not even counting Cobra Kai because we haven't really talked about it on here. But this is the nerdy shit that's coming up soon. All
right. So November 19th, first is Wheel of Time, then weekly until December 24th.
Right. So Wheel of Time comes out November 19th, my dad's birthday, and the day before your son's birthday. Mm-hmm. They're doing the same thing Hulu did with Why the Last Man. They're putting out 3 episodes right away to get us all psyched up, and then they're going to drop it down to weekly. Mm. So I've already talked to Lore Master Kevin, who knows the Wheel of Time book series, and we do not. And he's going to help us out. So we'll be recording that weekend with Kevin. So he's going
to tell us the Wheel of Time story?
Well, he's going to help fill in any gaps of things that we might need to know.
Okay, good.
As best he can.
That sounds fun.
Hopefully he did what I said and reread the entire series.
All right.
Yep. Here's hoping.
All right, November 24th, Hawkeye.
What? Did you say hot guy?
No, I said Hawkeye.
Oh, God. Okay, I figured it out. You're talking about Hawkeye, the Disney Plus series. Yeah, I'm guessing that one's going to be a weekly release because that's what they've been doing for theirs. So that's going to take us probably to New Year's, I'm guessing. I don't know how many episodes it is, but it's probably 6 to 8. It looks like a blast. If you have, most of you have probably been keeping up on the Marvel stuff because we're all nerds here, right? So if you have not yet seen the Hawkeye trailer, I suggest watching it. It starts off looking kind of serious, and then you start to think, oh, this is going to be a buddy comedy with some action in it. It just looks silly.
Is it with Jeremy Renner?
Yes.
Is he actually going to be...
Jeremy Renner is still playing Hawkeye.
I wasn't sure if I got the name right, but...
And it's the Pitch Perfect girl is playing his little sidekick. The up-and-coming new Hawkeye. I can't remember her name right now.
Which one?
The one that played the young girl in Pitch Perfect 2.
Oh, yeah. Brandy.
Haley Steinfeld.
No.
Haley Steinfeld. She's the actress that's playing the new Hawkeye.
Okay.
She's the world's best archer. And then he's like, wait, what about me, asshole? And then, yeah.
All right. So December 17th, Witcher Season 2. The
Witcher. Now, I don't know how we're going to do this. Now, as we do, we came late to the party on The Witcher. We didn't watch it till people had already finished talking about it. And then we went through it episode by episode and had a blast. Watched it twice even. But now I want to cover it in real time, but they're dropping the whole thing all at once because it's Netflix.
Maybe we should take a day off.
Ooh, you and I play hooky from work?
Yeah.
That's a good idea. What do we do with the kids? They're going to figure it out.
Wait, so this is...
I don't know what day December 17th is. But I like your idea no matter what.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
I'm just trying to think of how we cover it. I don't think there's going to be too much to talk about in one episode, right? I don't know. It's going to be spaced out, and we got Wheel of Time in the middle. So it's in the middle of the Wheel of Time shit. It's going to be... We're just going to have to podcast more. I'm sorry.
We'll see.
I'm sorry to everyone. We're just going to have to podcast more.
Did you just burp?
A little bit. I was trying to keep it quiet. God damn it.
I could hear it.
Well, maybe the audience couldn't. That's how microphones work, right?
December 29th, Book of Boba Fett.
I know you're not excited about this one.
I am excited.
What?
Wait, what is it? Okay, so maybe I'm mistaken about what this is going to be.
Okay, let's start with what you think it is.
I was thinking there was going to be Baby Yoda.
Probably not.
Darn.
No, that's Mandalorian season 3, which I don't think has a release date yet. Or I haven't figured it out. No, but I didn't think you were excited about this because it's the spin-off of The Mandalorian. So it's the Boba Fett character, the old guy. And remember, Ming-Na Wen playing his cool
like it'll be good.
assassin sidekick.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm interested.
All right, cool, good. I thought I was going to have to watch that on my own. I swear, when you heard that the Book of Boba Fett was coming, you're like, that guy? Ugh.
No, I like him.
Yeah, all right.
He's got a good story.
I have a history of not being a Boba Fett fan. And like I have one of my best friends from high school, college, and so on. Shout out to Josh. He has always been a big Boba Fett fan. And back in the day, even through, the prequel movies, I was always like, why? He doesn't do anything. He points a gun at a couple people. He gets thrown into a pit. And he never gets portrayed as any kind of badass. He gets his ass kicked the one time we see him in any kind of real fight. Mm-hmm. But he had this passionate fan base. My friend was not the only one.
Well, maybe they knew something we didn't know.
Someday they were going to do something with that character.
Yeah. Oh, maybe it's he's not in the books, like his backstory or anything.
Well, there are books about him, but we're talking like extended universe stuff. Some of it's trash. Some of it's probably okay. I have a book somewhere about Star Wars bounty hunters, and I did not particularly care for his story. But like part of it is, so the Sarlacc wraps you up in its little tentacles and pulls you in. And then as we hear in the movie, it slowly digests you over the course of 1,000 years. But then like something about Boba Fett and or his armor like gave the Sarlacc indigestion and either like killed the Sarlacc and then Boba Fett crawled out, or it like vomited him back up or something. Like, come on. This is just silly. This is just someone that doesn't want to let the character die.
Metal. Plant things can't eat metal.
Well,
there you go.
I mean, it's a Star Wars alien planet and creature, but sure.
Well, all right.
Did you just say the Sarlacc's a plant?
Well, I mean, it's a...
Wait, what makes you think it's a plant?
Because
it's got teeth.
I know, so but it like lives in the sand. It's almost like a plant. I mean, is it a worm? It's just a big mouth.
We don't know what it looks like. It's a mouth and tentacles come out of the mouth.
That's a plant.
Oh, and a lot of it was predicated on the fact that after it swallowed Boba Fett, it burped.
Yeah.
Ha, ha, ha. So, yeah, I've never cared for the extended universe, a lot of the extended universe stuff, because of silly things like that.
Okay. Gotcha.
But it's coming. But the series looks good. I mean, I like the guy that's playing Boba Fett. I know he was Jango Fett in the movies, and the movies were not so great, but that's not his fault. He's a good actor, and he's a cool, like, he's got a good look to him. I like him as, like, a badass bounty hunter type. And now he's, like, old, but that just makes him sort of the hardened badass. I like the character now, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
He's got potential. Was that it on the timeline, or was there more?
No. Now we just have our topics.
I thought the Lord of the Rings series was coming, like, imminently, but I looked it up again, and now it's not slated till, I think, September of 2022, so we got time for that one. Whew. Mm-hmm. Maybe House of the Dragon will be over by then, and it'll be perfect timing. I don't know. But there's still a lot coming in November and December, and that's troubling for me. It's too much good stuff. All right, give me my phone back.
Okay.
Well, that's all the headlines. Right?
That's all the headlines.
Okay. Well,
I don't know if that was a good idea or not. It seemed like it took longer.
Hey, look, the more of you the audience gets, the better. Better than me. Cause I thought you were right. I mean, just me reading headlines and then talking about them. Not as good. That's why you used to be in charge of Headline Corner. Mm-hmm. But now you're going to do some research into what?
I don't know.
Who Matt Smith is playing and whether or not that character has any backstory in place before the show.
I'll put it in my phone right now so that it's there.
Make sure you do some research on that for when we come back.
All right.
Because we'll still do, as we cover Wheel of Time, we're still going to have Game of Thrones headlines in front of all that shit. That's our promise to you, the Pot of Thrones audience. A minimum amount of Game of Thrones content every week.
He is Daemon Targaryen.
Daemon. I'm guessing it's Daemon and
Probably
not just Daemon.
Not Daemon.
Yeah. It's amazing there's no Y's in there, like Daymyon. Wouldn't surprise me. Just saying. All right, so here's other shit. It's been a busy month, a stressful month since last we talked to all of you, but also we spent a fair amount of time late at night on the couch watching shit. and 3 of the 4 things on this list directly involve Game of Thrones. So,
yeah,
let's get started by just spending a few minutes talking about our new heartwarming love, Ted Lasso.
He makes you feel so good.
Hopefully a lot of you have watched it, but it is not as widely available as some things because it's on Apple TV or Apple TV Plus or whatever that's called. The Apple TV streaming service. So, I will say this. I'm sorry, I gotta move. My old man body gets sore. If you don't have Apple TV, I think you can get it on any device. You don't have to even have an iPhone necessarily. But there is a free trial. So if you got some time to sit back and watch
a lot.
Well, you know what? I was going to say they're half-hour sitcom episodes, but they're not. Some of them are like 45 minutes.
Well, and some are like 26.
Yeah. So, it kind of averages out. But yeah, it's a lot of content. You'd have to binge it pretty seriously over a week or two. But do it. Like, it's a really good show.
Makes you feel good.
What would you say just the very base premise? How would you describe Ted Lasso to someone who hasn't watched it?
God. Okay. I would say
Ted Lasso is who is he as a person?
Good person.
Oh, God. Ostensibly, Ted Lasso is a show about soccer, but, it's really...
Right, it's not
really
about soccer. It's about people and being human and trying to be good humans to each other.
And Ted Lasso is a guy from the Midwest, college football coach who found some success, but a lot of social media, like he went viral with his dances and peppy attitude. Right.
He doesn't coach teams on like how to play. He coaches them on being a team that is there for each other like 100%.
Which is a good thing because he gets recruited to coach a professional soccer team in England and he doesn't know shit about soccer. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He has an assistant coach named Coach Beard, who has a beard. But why is there a Game of Thrones connection? Don't tell me you aren't. Come on.
I got to think about it. We've been watching it so long now. I have to think of all the characters. Oh, yes. Oh, God. That's right.
The owner of the soccer team is Rebecca.
Yes.
Or I guess we should say football club.
Right. What's her first name? Something Waddingham. Hannah. I was going to say Hannah.
Waddingham.
Hannah Waddingham, who is the shame nurse.
One of my nurse?
I mean...
None. She wasn't in the practice of healing bodies. Hannah Waddingham, the shame lady, is just a superstar, as it turns out.
And beautiful.
Star of stage and screen. I mean, I was looking her up on IMDb, and she's done so much shit that I never would have imagined for this tiny little part she had in Game of Thrones. Although it did obviously affect us deeply because we talk about her all the time.
She's famous.
She may be like the most memed of all the Game of Thrones everything. I mean, how many times on Twitter do you scroll by and see that gif of the shame lady with her belt? Mm-hmm. She's freaking amazing. You never would have known she was pretty based on Game of Thrones. So she's a fine looking lady.
She was an ugly lady.
She was pretty ugly. They uglied her up on Game of Thrones. But we find out she's a great actress. She's a phenomenal singer. Holy shit.
Yeah.
She does a couple, there's a karaoke night in the first season of Ted Lasso. There's a reason for her to sing in the second season of Ted Lasso a couple times. She's amazing.
And she's beautiful. She's tall and just a gorgeous woman.
Statuesque lady.
Stunning, I would say.
There you go. Yeah, so the plot of Ted Lasso, because it's no secret when you just watch the first episode, is that she has hired Ted, this American football coach that everyone seems to think is an awesome goofball, to coach her soccer team because the team belonged to her now ex-husband, who broke her heart horribly. and she is going to tank the team
She
to
got
teach
the
him a lesson.
team in the divorce or something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she wants to ruin the team just to get back at her ex-husband because he loves it.
Right.
How she got that in the divorce is kind of strange.
She had a lot of leverage on him because he cheated with everybody, apparently. So
he's a gross guy, man.
And the husband is played by Anthony Stewart Head, who I love. He was Giles the Watcher from Buffy. And he was also King Arthur on that Merlin series that our kids loved for a while. He's a cool dude. He's also a very good singer, by the way. And do you know who his brother is?
No.
I can't believe his brother is Murray Head. Famous 80s one-hit wonder for One Night in Bangkok.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Who knew?
But Anthony Stewart Head can sing too. He sings a couple times in Buffy, and it's
How did you
gorgeous.
know that? You weirdo.
Because I watched a lot of Buffy.
God.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer is a fucking great show. Shut up. We could do a rewatch of that while we wait for Game of Thrones. I'd be okay with that. She says.
Okay.
Anyway, so great singers all around.
Maybe I'll like it sometime. Maybe I'll like it this time around.
Buffy?
Yeah.
Wait, I thought you had watched it before without me.
I watched it when I was a teenager.
Right. Well, wasn't it great then?
No.
Oh.
I didn't like it.
You couldn't have been a teenager.
Yes, I was.
No.
Okay, well, maybe I was in my 20s.
You
I don't know.
You were in your 20s for sure.
I just remember I was at my parents' house when it was on.
Well, that ruins everything.
So, okay, what's next? What are we talking about?
So Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso.
Great show.
Gosh.
It's got a lot of laughs. This wacky cast of misfits on the soccer team. You got your coaching staff that are all very silly. And then you've got this trying to destroy the team thing. But in the middle of it, there's a lot of drama. You've got...
Right, everybody's got stuff going on in their lives.
Yeah, you've got relationship stuff.
People changing, people growing.
The captain of the team is facing getting old, too old to play soccer. How old is that, by the way? Because that guy is not old.
42.
Roy Kent. You think he's 42? Wow. I'm going to look that up while you talk, because you seem quite taken with Roy Kent. Why do you love him so much?
I didn't like him that much at first when he was mean, but then, of course, he became vulnerable, just like Kaylee wanted, and now he's attractive.
So would you date him?
I would. I would not enjoy his face.
Oh, God.
His scruffiness. You can tell that the scruffiness is very irritating.
Well, hot shit. Look at you. The actor that plays Roy Kent is 41. Huh. I mean, I feel like they're always talking about athletes, at least in, American sports. Athletes are getting old when they're like 31, 32. People start talking about like, wow, they're really getting up there in years. And it's like, fuck you, man. With the occasional anomaly of like a Tom Brady or whatever, but who manages to stay healthy through all of it. But it's those injuries. They creep up on you.
And Roy, of course, has this injury that...
Well, yeah, I mean, some stuff happens to him because he's getting old, I guess.
Yeah.
But you've got people dealing with egos. You got people dealing with daddy issues, self-confidence. You've got, there's death, there's divorce. There's all sorts of drama that is happening in the middle of this sort of workplace sitcom.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant.
Very much so.
It's fucking brilliant. Has Ted Lasso made you cry yet?
No. I don't cry much anymore.
Wow. Is it because I would always laugh at you?
Maybe.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to break you. I feel bad now. All right. Well, Ted Lasso. High recommendations. And if you haven't seen it yet, as soon as you see Rebecca, the shame lady, fucking Hannah Waddingham out in force in this show, you're going to be like, whoa, really? Really? That's the shame lady? So much love to you, Hannah Waddingham.
Very good.
Mm-hmm. We went to the theaters and we saw a movie called Dune. Mm-hmm. Now, what's the Game of Thrones connection?
I don't know.
Oh, come on.
I don't want to think. It's Sunday.
I'll give you a hint. My moon and stars. She
was in that?
No.
Oh.
He was in that. Jason Momoa, man.
Oh.
All right, Jennifer's now off mic. she's given up.
I'm tired.
Jason Momoa, and you get to see a new side of him because when we first see him in the movie, he's like a hotshot pilot for the Imperial Space Force or something, but he's got his full like Khal Drogo Aquaman beard thing going on.
Right.
But when we see him later on,
now I'm getting into Dune.
When we see him later on in the movie, he's baby faced, clean as the day he was born.
He looks good.
He looks fine, but boy, it was almost jarring.
I like it.
Like, is that Jason Momoa? So what did you think of Dune, dear? Have you ever read the book?
No, but I did see the movie when I was very young and too young to appreciate it or understand all of it, I think.
I don't think anyone can understand all of it.
And I kept getting it mixed up with the TV series that had the gate. What was that? Stargate. I don't know why. I must have watched them around the same time.
Wow.
I kept thinking there was a Stargate somewhere too.
When I was a kid, I thought it was very strange that both Dune and Beetlejuice had sandworms.
That is strange.
Very strange.
Yeah. Yeah. But I really like this movie. I don't remember the old Dune very much, so.
It was a hell of a star-studded cast, which I feel like the original Dune, not so much. I mean, there were definitely some big names in the original Dune, but I think they were all like not super big yet.
Sting in diapers.
And then you had Sting in a blue diaper, just like Dr. Manhattan at the end of the Watchmen series. Mm-hmm. They were wearing the same blue diaper.
I don't think his was blue. I think it was white, wasn't it?
Who? Sting's?
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh.
Blue and shiny. A shiny blue diaper. Mm-hmm. That character wasn't even in this movie, as it turns out, but maybe we'll get him later. Maybe he'll still wear a blue diaper, just as an homage.
Nice.
So Dune tells the story of this planet, Arrakis, nicknamed Dune because it's covered in sand. It's one of these monoclimate planets, just like something out of Star Wars.
But it's rich in what is it that they need? Spice, that's right.
Feel the spice. Mm-hmm. Snap into it.
They're digging for spice, which I guess is in the sand?
Yes. And I'm pretty sure that, so I did read the book, or probably more accurately listen to the audiobook so long ago. There's a lot that I cannot remember. But there's a reason for the spice and all that I don't want to get into, because Dune Part 2 has been greenlit. We're going to have to wait at least 2 years. But they're going to start working on it presently.
Cool.
I would like to think they already have the script written, right? I mean, you got to know.
Yeah, you have to, kind of.
We should just get right into filming that.
At least an outline.
They should be prepared. Hell of a star-studded cast, yeah. Timothée Chalamet, who I don't know anything about, but that name with the 2 E's on the end of Timothy kind of just immediately I want to slap the little stick boy. But hey, he was a fine actor. I got no qualms. Zendaya. Mm-hmm. She was in it a lot less than I thought she would be for the top billing she had. She's mostly just exists in dream sequences. And then, most of the other big names kind of died. Oscar Isaacs. How about that?
Who's that?
He was Duke Leto Atreides.
The father?
Yes.
He was good.
You remember him from the Star Wars movies, the new ones. He was, the super pilot.
Okay.
But he didn't have a beard. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name right now. Rebecca Ferguson played the mom. Jessica, I believe her name was. And I remember her. I spent the whole movie going like, damn it. She looks familiar. She was in Dr. Sleep. She played the main bad lady.
I don't know Dr. Sleep.
With The Shining.
Oh, Dr. Sleep.
Not Dr. Sleep, yeah.
I know Dr. Sleep.
She was like Rose the Hat or something like that, and she wore a hat all the time. And she would drain people's life force.
I'm never going to remember any of this stuff.
Okay. Okay. Look, I'm going to say this about Dune. I thought it was beautifully shot. Great effects, great costuming. Everything was gorgeous. The acting, very, very good. Somehow, despite the fact that they have chopped this movie in half because there's so much content, right? Which was a big problem with the original movie. Some of it still felt really rushed to me. It seemed like, we get this introduction and they explain, well, first of all, okay, as someone who saw the old movie so long ago she doesn't remember, never read the books, there was that introduction with like, this is the planet Arrakis and we have the spice, and then the spice feeds the spacing guild so they can do spacing, and then there's an emperor, and then there's these great houses. How much of that made sense to you?
It made sense.
Did it? Okay.
Well, I didn't know who these houses were or what they were really talking about, but I mean, at least there was a little bit of story there for me.
I just wasn't sure. Well, and I mean, you're a nerd.
It was good enough for me.
You're a full-fledged nerd now, so maybe you're the wrong person to be asking. Maybe I should like get my dad to see the movie and ask him or something.
Oh, he'd be like, what?
But yeah, I just wonder, like, those first 10 minutes of the movie, how many people did they lose? Of just like, I don't know what the fuck any of these words are.
I don't know. It's kind of the thing now. So
yeah, maybe. I hope so. Because if you get past that, then so they set up this whole plot, and there's House Harkonnen. They're kind of just generally gross. Like, they just seem like these greasy people that don't bathe much. And of course, because they're greasy and don't bathe much, they're evil, because that's how that works in science fiction. And then you have House Atreides, who are theoretically these noble good guys. But this is also all about imperialism, right? They're sort of subjecting, is that the right word? I don't know. The Fremen, the actual natives of Arrakis, which has a very, I don't
American?
know. Iraq, kind of feel to it. Like what the shit we do in the Middle East. So it's got that kind of feel. But then House Harkonnen was very much like, we're going to just kill any Fremen that get in our way. And then the Fremen would fight back, and they've actually got some kind of cool toys. So, but then Harkonnen gets pulled out after 8 years or something of being the spice merchants. And then Atreides gets sent in.
Right.
Fine. So the Emperor, who we have not met, wants a change in power. But then, just based on the way the movie was kind of set up for us, it felt like House Atreides moved into Arrakis, and within like a week, there was a plot in motion for the Emperor wanting to kill them and give everything back to Harkonnen.
I thought it was like the same fucking day.
It felt like it.
Yes,
I'm being generous by saying maybe within a week. Yeah, it felt like immediately, as soon as they landed, basically, there was the Bene Gesserit witch on behalf of the Emperor was suddenly saying, yeah, the Emperor wants these guys out. So you can take it back, but you gotta, like, kill them all. Right.
And the whole story with the mom being a witch or whatever they are.
Bene Gesserit, yep.
I would like a little more information on that. Like, what does that mean? What do they do? Are they evil? What are they, like... What's the big deal?
As memory serves, and this might have been mentioned very slightly in the movie, but I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. I think it's very similar to what we saw in The Witcher with the sorcerers. The graduating class was coming out of the academy, right? And then there was this fancy ball where all the kings of the many kingdoms around Witcherland got to come and pick their favorite sorceress to bring back to court. I think it's like that. I think a Bene Gesserit gets assigned to each great house. But then sometimes sex happens.
And they fall in love.
Right. And it turns out Leto Atreides, oh yeah, Jessica couldn't have been an Atreides. Leto Atreides and Jessica, like she was his concubine or something like that, right? They were never married. And he, he expressed regrets about that in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, lady, I wish I had married you or something. So they had this sexual relationship, but they were not married. And but then she gets in trouble for giving him a son because she can control that shit. Obviously, that's like the ultimate, like, I don't know, 1400s, I'm the king of England, male misogyny kind of thing, right? Like, you never gave me a son and I'm going to have you beheaded. Except this time it's real because Bene Gesserits apparently can decide what kind of child they're going to have.
Neat.
I guess it's a good power if you can get it.
Sure. I mean, why not?
Why not? Sure. But she wasn't supposed to produce a boy.
Unless, of course, there's too many population of one or the other, but...
She wasn't supposed to produce a boy, but Jessica thought...
She was allowed to produce a girl?
Yes. But
or she chose to produce a girl and she actually had a boy?
No, she chose to produce a boy, but she had been forbidden to do so. But Jessica thought she knew best, because all these Bene Gesserits are like setting plots in motion over the course of millennia, and they're reading signs from the universe and prophecy, and it's all to bring about some special child. Someone who's going to be basically a messianic figure of sorts.
That's right.
And Jessica thinks she did it. And they're like, you better be careful, lady. We're going to give you a chance and not kill your son for now. But we're watching you.
Once we find out he is not...
If he's not the chosen one. Yeah. If he's not the chosen one, we're going to come stab him with a poison needle. So fuck you, Jessica. And part of that deal was the Emperor says you can kill all the Atreides, but not Jessica or the child. And the Harkonnens are like, sure, whatever. And then they're crossing their fingers behind their backs and they try to kill everyone, but they fail. So now the part I can't remember from the books is how much of that was actually the Emperor, or was that just the Bene Gesserit saying... I think my theory is that the Bene Gesserits are just trying to further their plot. Like, the Emperor's got nothing to do with it. They have this idea to create the Messiah, but in order to be the Messiah, you probably can't have, like, a stable family life and a dad.
Of course not, no.
No, that's not how being a hero works.
Right.
We know that from everything that we've ever watched. So I have a feeling it's their plot. But I don't know for sure. And I've sort of intentionally not gone too deep into rereading stuff or looking up spoilers, because I'd like, the most enjoyment possible out of the second movie when it comes. Plus, I got lots of other shit to do. I will say, though, that I was kind of disappointed that Jason Momoa died. Spoilers. Sorry.
Yeah, he died a little too soon.
But I looked that character up because he's got such a weird name, too. Duncan, Idaho. So I just went down a Duncan, Idaho rabbit hole briefly.
Yeah.
And that really wasn't the name of the book. I mean, that much is for sure. But he might come back if they make enough of these movies. But as like sort of a weird clone thing. Because he does eventually come back in the books. As a weird kind of clone thing. So we got that to look forward to. At least they're
following the books.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this was pretty faithful to the source material. We can and maybe should really rewatch that 1984 movie.
Let's do it.
I believe it's on HBO Max.
Let's do it tonight.
We'll do it tonight. Okay. Write that down on your list of things to talk about next time we podcast. You're gonna look up Daemon Targaryen.
All right.
We're gonna watch Dune 1984 so we can have some laughs and talk about it.
Making a note.
All right. Yeah, so Dune. Very good. And Game of Thrones connections. Now, what do you want to talk about next? I got two more things on our list. We can talk about Why the Last Man, like we promised. What the fuck was that?
This has been a long podcast. We should break it up.
Or we could talk about what we did last night.
Ooh, let's talk about what we did last night.
Wow. Yeah?
What was I going to look up?
We're still under an hour, by the way.
Daemon Targaryen and
Daemon
what?
Targaryen, and we're going to watch Dune 1984.
Dune.
Wow. It's just in and out of your head.
Yep. That's why I'm taking a note.
It's good to have a system.
Okay.
All right. What did we do last night, babe?
We went and watched Eternals. It was good.
I already saw a headline that Eternals is currently the lowest ranked of all the MCU movies so far.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Like Internet Movie Database stuff. Users.
Well, I mean, it's not... I don't think that it was... Not that I would know, but I feel like it wasn't marketed enough.
A little shout out to the But Why Though podcast. Remember we... What?
Okay. Segue.
No, well, a long time ago, we had Kate Sanchez on. She was talking Game of Thrones with us. You may remember that episode if you're a longtime listener. But I just want to say she saw the preview, early screening of Eternals, and then came back to Twitter to report it as, quote, the horniest of all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies.
Ooh, there is one scene.
There's one scene where I'm watching it going like, can I watch this with my kids?
I know. There's no. I mean, oh my gosh, but...
You have 2 13-year-old boys in the house. I don't know if I can handle that. It's not like it's that explicit, but...
You see no parts, but they're having sex and they're naked.
Yeah, there's a naked guy on top of a naked girl.
On the dirt.
Didn't they have a towel?
I don't think
they might have had a beach towel. I think they laid down like a colorful tie-dye beach towel.
It was just like right on a rock.
Sex on a rock. Ouch. Well, they're immortal. What do they got to worry about? They probably don't even know what chafing is.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. It was that, but also there was a lot of other longing. We didn't really see.
Yes. Longing.
But this movie has been banned at least in a few Middle Eastern countries. I remember Qatar, I think Saudi Arabia. A few countries have already banned this movie. Do you know why?
Not because of sex?
Oh, it's sex related. But it's not.
Oh, because there's women that have power?
No.
What?
No, I'm saying it's sex related, but it's not the sex scene that we're talking about. What else is there?
I don't know.
Gayness.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I can see that.
What?
I can see how those countries would.
Oh, okay.
those particular
I can see
countries.
Why you want to ban that. God. No, yeah. The fact there is one scene. Well, there's a gay couple. Don't know that we need to give spoilers on that because this movie's so new. But there is a gay couple in the movie, and at one point they're saying goodbye to each other. One of them has to go away for a while, and they have like a emotional moment. A what?
Did they kiss? Oh, they kissed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was like a sad kiss. It wasn't even just like, hey, we're married and mwah.
Yeah.
It was like a real kiss with emotion behind it because they were saying goodbye.
Mm.
And that is all it takes. There are a number. I only heard about those countries so far, but I have to imagine, it's still illegal to be gay in like Russia. I don't know what China's stance is on that, but maybe it's okay there. But a lot of these authoritarian led countries still have these just, I don't know how head in the sand do you have to be as any kind of leader of any political movement these days to not think that information's out there and like all of your people that you are your subjects, no matter what you say the law is, they know that gayness exists and that it's just a fact of the universe. Like it's out there. You can't stop the signal, to quote Firefly. Right?
Well, I think that those people must not be watching the right news station or something. They're not exposed to it. So they don't get a chance to become okay with it,
But
like they don't want to hear about it at all. They don't, they're just closed off to it so much that they can't fathom or they can't grow in their own ability to accept.
Well, that's the leaders.
That's anybody, any human being.
Well, I'm sure in any of these countries, there's probably a lot of people that agree with it that like, no, gayness is wrong. But,
right. So the more that they try to keep it quiet, the longer they can.
Well, but whether or not you think it's wrong, though, you can't deny that gay exists. Like to say, and I guess making it illegal doesn't deny that gay can exist.
I don't think they're denying that gay exists. They just don't agree with it.
And it's not okay to portray it on screen because that would normalize it.
Right. Which it would.
Yeah, well, no, I guess that part's true, yes. Having representation on screen normalizes whatever that thing is. That's true. It's so fucking stupid, though.
Yeah. Close-minded people.
And not that America is even close to perfect.
Why do they
holy
care?
Shit, but like...
Why do people care?
I don't know. Well, that's a big part of what I don't understand is, why would you care about that? And even fucking Trump saying like trans people can't serve in the military. Why does he care? He only cares because he thinks it'll rile up his base, I guess. But and in that case, we're talking about a democratic political maneuver. But if you're in a country where you're king and you're not going to get voted out of office, I really don't understand why you would care. I don't get it.
I don't know. It's just that's where they're at and all they know. They don't.
You know what it is? When you're a dictator and you're trying to lead, where you're trying to lead this, any kind of authoritarian thing where you have to keep that authority all the time. A big part of it is that you have to have an outgroup, maybe more than one outgroup, but you have to have enemies of the state. You have to have people within your borders that are going to exist, but their existence is wrong. And having a fear of those people and the need to sort of keep them in check is part of what lets you hold on to power.
Okay.
Anyway,
perhaps.
The movie was good. Did you want to say anything else about that? Sorry. I was just realizing we're way off topic.
No, I think the movie was good and I recommend it. It
was a horny movie.
Yes. I wouldn't take my 13-year-old to see it with me. I don't want to watch it with them.
Now, how about our Game of Thrones connections?
Now, isn't that bad?
What?
I'm not going to talk about this for long, but
no, I feel I know exactly what you're going to say.
It's just uncomfortable.
I feel guilty about it because we don't mind watching grotesque violence with the kids. Like people get eviscerated and have their heads cut off and blood spurts out and things happen with some of the stuff that we've watched with them, and it doesn't bother us at all, or not much. But God forbid a naked man lays on top of a naked woman and you don't see anything. You don't see any ghibli bits. You just see two people with their shirts off. You don't even see their hips. You just see stomach up. Completely.
Well, I think her leg was up.
I don't think so. Let's go watch it again and find out.
I think we saw some hip. Okay, so what was next?
Oh, are we done talking about Eternals now?
Aren't we?
Do we have anything else to say? I mean, we could talk spoiler. Did you have any deep thoughts about the plot? Did you?
I didn't know you want to do spoilers.
Well, did you think it fits in well with the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Where is it going from here?
I thought it fit in well. Yes.
I think we got to have a couple spoilers. If you haven't watched the Eternals yet, pause the show, come back. You'll have a couple weeks before our next episode. Okay, here we go. What were you going to say? You first.
I don't like, what's the god's name?
Oh,
Ashrid.
Fuck.
Okay,
go keep talking. You don't like him. I'll find his name.
I mean, I liked everything about it. I liked their costumes. I liked the story. I liked that they were all different age groups. I didn't like Angelina Jolie so much, but that's just a personal thing. She did great and she looked beautiful. I just didn't, I don't know. Anyway,
Arishem.
That's right. I didn't even see that coming when they had the storyline I was shocked at
we're in spoiler town now. Okay. You can say what it was.
Well, so when we find out that it's all they're doing all this protection for all these years to populate the earth even more for this other baby god to be sucking up the energy so he can grow enough to come out of the earth.
Fascinating concept, but yes, you didn't like it? I mean, I think it's kind of a neat idea, right?
It's a neat idea, right?
Each planet could be
if we had this giant thing in the middle of our Earth growing, it would completely ruin the Earth.
Yeah, no, there's a certain amount of realism lost in that regard.
That part I did not like.
Like you're drilling an oil well and then you suddenly hear ouch, because you hit its kneecap or something.
Right.
It's a very Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy plot, too. I don't know how much you remember about that, but the whole point was Earth was just a computer trying to solve a question about the question of the ultimate existence of the universe or whatever. And then it was destroyed to make a space highway moments before it computed the final answer.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. But all the people on it died just for the progress of space, which is that's exactly what Arashem's doing.
Right. So as soon as this thing pops out, it's going to destroy all of Earth as well as some other stuff, right? To create a whole new universe.
Well, it would destroy Earth, and then it would go off somewhere into the galaxy and probably make a new galaxy centered around itself.
I mean, we're pretty much at the end of our time here.
Look, I don't disagree. I don't even think the Eternals disagreed. They just wanted to put her back to sleep long enough to
get everybody out safely,
so that humanity, could progress to space travel and then get the fuck out. But then they wound up killing it instead. But that wasn't their original plan. That was just the emergency backup plan. I did think it was cool how they address very early on in the movie, why, if you guys are immortal and super powerful, why didn't you help against Thanos or the Chitauri invasion that happened in New York before that, right? Which was all sort of still Thanos related. But the whole first 3 or 4, whatever cycles of the Marvel Cinematic Universe was all about Thanos leading up to the Infinity Gauntlet stuff. But why didn't you help if you were just sitting here on Earth? Why are you just thumbing your butt?
Yeah.
And it was all about humanity's progress. Like,
right.
We weren't to interfere.
Only to guard from the gargoyles.
Deviants. Yes, that's all they were allowed to do. Anything else, complete non-intervention. But then as the movie was reaching its climax, I was also thinking, that's a fine point. Fine, there's a reason that they kept in the background all this time. But why? There was a global earthquake. The entire Earth shook. Mm-hmm. What do you suppose they were doing in, let's just say, hypothetically, Wakanda, the most scientifically advanced part of the Earth? Why wasn't anyone else getting involved as the Earth was about to end? Not that they could have done anything to stop the birth of a Celestial, but I feel like if things really made sense, we would have at least seen someone show up and be like, what's that hand coming out of the water? But no. That's not how these movies work.
Yeah,
so there's that.
Weird. I don't know.
Yeah. The parallels and often mentions of Superman were pretty interesting.
It was funny.
I guess Superman is such a mainstream concept now that you can take that DC character's name and say it in a Marvel movie without getting your ass sued. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But this character, Icarus, well, okay, we didn't talk about what the Game of Thrones connections are. What are the Game of Thrones connections?
I don't know.
Icarus, for one. Richard Madden. Robb Stark.
Oh, yeah.
He looked familiar, right? Okay. And then the other one. Your boy. Love of your life.
Jon Snow.
Kit Harington, right. Playing some dude.
Yeah.
Sort of. So that was neat, but Icarus was basically Superman. Right? I mean, I thought it was neat. And I don't know how purposeful it was, but I feel like it was pretty on purpose. Like the way Icarus flew and sometimes hovered, the way he used his eye beams, sometimes the facial expressions while using his eye beams were almost identical down to the minutest detail of like, the Man of Steel stuff. Mm-hmm. With Henry Cavill, Henry Cavill's version. Henry Cavill's bigger, more muscular than Richard Madden could ever possibly be. But I did think it was really interesting how they did that.
Well, I mean, what should he have done differently? When you're shooting laser eye beams, it's not like you can do a pose or
peace
you
sign.
just stand there and shoot them out your eyes.
Yeah, but he wasn't just standing. Like he was holding him, like just his mannerisms, the way he was holding himself. It just seemed exactly like Man of Steel stuff. And then the couple times in the movie he got called Superman more than once. And he was the guy that no one else on the team could face, could really do anything to. And then you had that moment where it was basically the Flash versus Superman, which we kind of saw in Justice League, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What was her name? Makari, played by The Walking Dead's Lauren Ridloff.
Yeah,
she was awesome.
She was good.
There have been headlines about that. Apparently, there's backlash against having a deaf hero on screen because people don't want to read subtitles. What the fuck is wrong? It's just everyone's just too eager to be pissed off about something.
I don't want to read words.
This is, oh my God. God forbid we have progress or representation. We can't have any of that. Anyway. but that fight too, like where it's basically the Flash versus Superman, there were moments in that were also very reminiscent of some of the stuff between Superman and Flash and Justice League. I thought it was funny, really more than anything. I didn't think it was good or bad. I just thought it was funny, but also very well done.
Yes, I agree.
Maybe better in some cases than the stuff we saw.
It was more enjoyable to watch, for sure.
Justice League?
Yes.
Yeah.
Way more.
I could go with that. Was there anything else about that?
I didn't like the guy.
Which guy?
The weird.
Oh, the psychic guy?
Yeah, the psychic guy.
You said multiple. I think you said during the movie, you were like, I don't like that guy. I'm like, shh. Barry Keoghan playing Druig.
Yes.
I don't have any. I mean, he wasn't that likable of a character, but I got the impression he wasn't supposed to be. I guess.
No, I know. He had to do his hair funky and make himself look funky as possible.
I did really like, and this all goes to the DC, the Marvel comic, of course, but I did like a lot of the naming. You know, the fact that it was Icarus and Thena, not Athena, but she still had a Greek, history, like the Greeks based some of their mythology around her. I thought that was really neat how they worked some of that in. I got the feeling that Phastos, the guy who makes all the gadgets, I got the feeling that he was then the basis for the Greeks' Hephaestus, the Smith god, that kind of stuff. So I thought that Gilgamesh, of course, the Sumerian god, God King, who has an epic written about him. So I thought that stuff was neat. And then the very end, we get a cameo from Patton Oswalt, my favorite human.
Yes, as a little troll.
Pip, I think, what's he called? Is he the troll? Pip is his name. Pip the Troll. Yes. Pip the Troll. And then weird cameo, but not even really a cameo because he's going to be back. Harry Styles. Harry fucking Styles. From, what was his group called?
One Direction?
One Direction. Yeah, that's it. Teenage girls in our house when they were younger teenagers used to love fucking One Direction. That was weird. That was weird.
Crossover.
But it does speak to some of the stuff that's coming next, I guess. We don't know what the big plot of this phase of the MCU is going to be. Now that Thanos is dead and gone, they need something probably even bigger and badder. I guess it could be Arishem. It could be something else.
Maybe it'll grow up and it'll be Sprite.
Well, Sprite's a human now. She can't.
I know. Maybe she'll grow up to be a bad person. Maybe she's like, God damn you for making me human. These people are idiots.
Yes, that would be good too. Well, we know we're going to have Kang the Conqueror because he was the guy that showed up at the end of Loki, the guy from Lovecraft Country. He's going to be some kind of big bad, but he's just a human, so there's got to be more factors that feed into all the crazy shit that's going to happen with the multiverse. I don't know. We know we got multiverse coming. We got Kang the Conqueror, but now we got a pissed off Arishem who took, three of the Eternals and is going to judge them or something. Judge humanity. There's a lot of potential in the works. I don't know where any of it's going, but I'm glad Patton Oswalt's involved because I love him very dearly.
Do you think he'll be in the next one?
Well, I don't know what the next one is.
Do you think they're really going to have a troll?
Oh, yeah.
Walking around with them?
Pip the Troll serves Eros, a.k.a. Star Fox. So yes, as long as Star Fox is going to be a major character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in this phase, we will have Pip following him around for sure.
It's a little goofy.
It is a little goofy, but I love Patton Oswalt so much. I'm willing to forgive it.
Okay. He could have been somebody else. They could have just made him like Pip Squeak.
Magic Dragon. The last part was that other stinger at the very end of the movie. So Kit Harington, who seemed like a complete inconsequential character throughout the entire movie.
He's just his cute boyfriend.
He's just a human that loves an Eternal, although she loves him back. But he's like, there's some weirdness with my bloodline too. And then we don't find out what it is until the very end when he opens up a box. There's a sword wrapped up in like, I don't know, mummy wrap or something.
Bloody muslin.
Yeah. And then he's about to touch that sword as it's like, it's got black stuff moving all around it. And he's about to touch the blade. And then someone says, "You sure you want to do that?" So a couple things. It turns out that Dane Whitman, the name of Harington's character, is a character from the comics known as Black Knight, who has been primarily, from what I gathered, a villain. But I don't think he's going to be here unless the whole problem is the sword will corrupt your mind. But
I think that's the problem.
He just wants to go, I guess, into the cosmos to find Arishem and kill him, and he thinks that this sword can do it. But the voice saying, "Are you sure you want to do that?" Oh, dogs. We're almost done. The voice saying, "Are you sure you want to do that?" has been confirmed by Chloe Zhao, the director of the film, to be Blade, who is getting his own stuff coming up in the near future.
Who's Blade?
He's the Daywalker vampire. Used to be Wesley Snipes. He had his own trio of movies, which incidentally, in the third movie, Patton Oswalt.
In Blade?
Blade 3.
Really?
Patton Oswalt played a scientist that was making gadgets for Blade.
Wow, he must have been so young.
And also Ryan Reynolds.
He must have been really young.
He was really young. Was it Ryan Reynolds? Pretty sure it was Ryan Reynolds. Yeah. Blade 3. Not the best of the Blades, but it has its moments.
Yeah.
I think that was Ryan Reynolds. Now I'm second guessing myself. But I'm not going to worry about it right now. Patton Oswalt, 100% for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's new Blade stuff coming. And it's going to be... the guy that played Cottonmouth from...
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I can't even find it. Blade's not even listed yet on the Internet Movie Database, so I can't tell you what his name.
It'll be a while.
Fuck. I know the guy's name too, but I can't remember it right now. All right, finally. For those of you can unpause now. Finally, we did watch this show called Y the Last Man. Do you need a break? Do you need to stand up and stretch?
Oh my God, is this going to take a long time?
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about it.
Ugh.
We promised our audience, and it's been a while. It's been a month.
Nope, we gotta go. Let's do it.
Y the Last Man. The first thing that I thought was really interesting about Y the Last Man, especially since in the middle of it all we watched Squid Game, was that the world seems to have this thing now for really unlikable protagonists.
I guess.
I mean, we talked about that a lot with Squid Game, but now we have Yorick. So Y the Last Man is based off a comic book, and I have now read the first compiled graphic novel, like the first 10, I think, out of 60 issues of this comic book. And Yorick in the comic book is not quite so unlikable. I'll say that.
Well, I mean, he's now becoming better than what he was in the beginning.
A little bit. But he starts off
he's
as
less
this
annoying.
guy. He's a stage magician or escape artist. Probably an illusionist. Mm-hmm. And then the world ends. Now, how does the world end? We really haven't talked about this at all yet.
All right. So everybody's just going about their business. And then all of a sudden, all the men seem to just like combust from the inside.
It's a quick death, but it looks very painful. They start coughing up blood, and then blood is just shooting out of every orifice. And then they die. Some kind of virus, we guess.
Made them explode from like just internal, what do you call that? Exploding something contained.
I don't know.
There's got to be a name for it.
It's not spontaneous combustion because that's fire.
But pretty much that's what it was, but from the inside.
It seemed like what you hear about like the worst horror stories of Ebola. Like it just causes a lot of internal hemorrhaging.
Yeah.
You just start bleeding out of your eyes or whatever. So it was like that, only it only affected men. And all of a sudden every man around the world is dead.
Right.
It also felt a little bit like The Walking Dead in the terms of like everybody had this virus and they never even knew it. And then one day it just kind of got activated.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, it could happen.
Dude, I mean, this was written in, I want to say the 90s, the comic book. But yeah, I mean, this shit's been floating over our head forever. I mean, COVID's not the last pandemic we're going to be struggling with. Not even close.
Yeah, we could easily have some kind of weird thing like that happen.
The next one could be deadlier. We had a threat of Ebola, I don't know, a number of years ago, but it was contained, thankfully, by competent people, and it didn't spread as easily as COVID. But yeah, like it's not the last time we're going to have a pandemic, not by any stretch.
No.
But in this case, the big mystery is how come one dude that we know of got to survive? Now, in the original comic, because it was the 90s, trans people, being trans was certainly something that was known about, which is good. And if you wrote this in the 70s, you wouldn't have really anything to go on, because you'd have the concept of like a transvestite, but that would involve, hormones or anything. I don't know. But that's a guy dressing up as a woman. Now here we have men still exist, but it's a chromosomal thing, right? So if you were born genetically male, then you die. But you could be a trans man, a trans male. There's a dog going from my pillow right now.
No. Stay
away from my pillow, dog. Yeah, you're cute, but no. So trans men can still exist. They exist in the comic book, but in another strong move of representation, we got trans actors on screen for this show, which is great, playing trans people.
Yes.
I mean, the main guy that we got to know, Sam, he could easily be any male character in anything we've ever seen. He's just a young guy, kind of scruffy looking, but very much
a man.
Yeah. You would never think otherwise, which is great. I'm not saying you necessarily would or should or whatever, but, I had to look it up. I'm like, so this person is playing a character named Sam, and Sam is supposed to be a trans dude. I just wanted to know more, but sure enough, the actor is legitimately a trans actor. So it's great. More representation on screen. Not the only one either, but it's almost maybe the saving grace for our main hero, Yorick, because he can move throughout the world and not be completely conspicuous as a scruffy dude, because there are other men around.
He's got nice, long, luscious, curly hair. It's not long, but
longish. And also he has a monkey.
Shorty. Stop it.
If you hear a grinding noise in the background, that's the other dog, Shorty, the dog without a nickname, grinding on a bone, but he's bored. Ampersand, the monkey, also the only male animal to have known to be alive through all of this.
Right.
So there's a big mystery of how come it's this person? How come this person has a monkey that also survived? Those are the big mysteries behind the show.
My guess is that the monkey infected him with something. Or
maybe.
Somehow. I don't know.
Maybe the monkey's the key. Now, through it all, there's added drama because Yorick's mom is the president. Now, she was like the Nancy Pelosi, I think, Speaker of the House, but now she's president through the chain of succession, because it's mostly men. I think it's interesting, and maybe, I don't know how realistic it is, but I'm a little bit worried it is realistic just how much of the world fell apart immediately because all the men died.
It's a little insulting, but
they do find one nuclear technician who's able to get a power plant online after they talk her into, doing the job.
Well, I mean, women aren't quite, I don't know. We're just not quite as abundant in the workforce as men are, right?
Well, I feel like there's a lot of...
It's getting closer.
It's getting better in maybe white collar settings, for sure. But if you go into
blue collar
auto factory, a oil refinery, a nuclear power plant, I guess maybe it's true. Maybe there's not very good representation there. You don't see a whole lot of female garbage persons.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
We still say garbage men a lot of times because you don't see a lot of women in that job. Not to say they couldn't do the job. They just don't. So a lot of these traditionally male roles, once all the men die, things start to fall apart kind of quickly. So that was interesting. But now, so his mom's now the president, which they feel like they need to keep his existence a secret because conspiracy theorists. If they know that now Mrs. Brown, whatever her name is, Jennifer Brown is the president, and also her son is the only male survivor of the entire world, well, conspiracy theories will go crazy. And sad to say, I think they're kind of right. Especially because she is like a liberal. She's a Democrat. And these, the conservatives were in power in the White House. And now they feel like they've been pushed to the side.
Right.
So yeah, it's an interesting political scenario. But my favorite character in the show is Agent 355.
She's badass.
She's a badass. I had to look it up. She claims to be part of something called the Culper Ring. The Culper Ring is like a secret espionage, internal, heroic organization, right?
Is it a real thing?
It is a real thing. Huh. Or at least it. So here's the thing. The Culper Ring was a real thing. During the Revolutionary War, there was a ring of secret agents who went around just trying to save the country, as we were trying to revolt from England, mostly espionage, maybe some assassinations, who knows. But supposedly does not exist anymore. To which I say, maybe it does. And I think this comic was good to explore that possibility. Because why not? You could just be like, yeah, we're not, like...
I would like to be part of the Culper ring if I was fit and intelligent.
You're intelligent.
I mean, like, she's pretty smart.
Well, she knows how to like improvise a bomb. She knows how to fly a helicopter.
Right.
She's got a military background for sure.
I'm kind of a jack of all trades. Maybe I could do it.
You could totally do it. Although you might have to like seduce white supremacists until you blow them up.
Yeah, I don't like that part.
That was gross. What little backstory we got on her was kind of nasty. So she's pretty cool. They find this doctor, a geneticist, superstar who could potentially save the world, Dr. Mann. And they're going to try to use her to figure out why Yorick survived and how we can fix all that. Then we also have a group called the Amazons. I think they deserve a special mention because Hero, Yorick's sister, whose name is Hero, gets wrapped up with them.
Right.
What do you think they're all about?
They're kind of like Negan.
A little bit.
But not quite as bad. Which is probably the worst Negan like version of Negan you'd find in women.
Well, you know what? Your daughter was watching us watch some of this, and she was in disbelief that, like, if all the men died, there's no way that, people would act this shitty to each other because women are generally nicer than men.
Well, I mean, she hasn't been exposed to mean women,
Well, you're right. But also when you're in a survival situation,
people change.
Women can be greedy.
They'll do whatever they need to do to protect their own.
Right. Whether it's your kids or your family or your friends, like women will still band together and women can shoot guns and women can, claim property, like all the things. It is very Neganish, led by a lady named Roxanne.
I loved her backstory. That was great.
Yeah. She used to, it was a Costco,
she was
basically a Costco.
Yeah.
An assistant manager at a Costco.
Right.
And then,
what
did you love about it?
I mean, she was this woman who was kind of like just taken advantage of by her ex, I think, and also the store manager. But she was also a troublemaker. Like she couldn't keep her mouth shut or whatever.
Well, she wasn't a troublemaker. She was speaking up against like sexual harassment in the workplace. Like there were complaints against like one of the guys, and she tried to discipline the guy, and then the manager overrode her.
So I was right the first time. She was being taken advantage of. But they like painted her as a person that was like constantly complaining, and that was the
men
managers.
tried to paint her that way. Yeah.
Right.
But she was just trying to make things better.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the apocalypse hit and she had to learn how to defend her Costco.
Yeah. So she pretended to be a cop.
Eventually. And became a cult leader.
Right.
Yeah.
Did some bad things.
And now she doesn't survive the first season, right? She winds up getting dead at the end of the first season. And now the new leader of the Amazons is this lady named Victoria, who we knew through the whole season as Nora,
who just could not get a leg up.
She could not get a leg up. She was a little whiny. She wasn't super likable. She wasn't super likable or sympathetic in some ways, and in other ways you were like, oh, I feel for her. But it turns out her name's not Nora. She's been running from her real heritage her whole life, yada, yada, yada. Her name's Victoria. And that's all kind of important for a reason. Now, we end. Yorick gets away from this prison, this town full of prisoner women who were all very nice. But that town falls under siege to the Amazons.
He has sex with one of those prisoner women.
He has sex with one of the prisoner women, despite that he loves his fiancée, girlfriend, Beth. But she's missing, sort of.
He doesn't think he'll see her again.
He doesn't think he'll see her again. Yeah,
it's been a while.
And you got to have sex eventually, right? He fell for one of these prisoner women, but she gets shot in the head. But he gets away. Hero finds out he exists. And then at the end of all this, he's like, please, Agent 355, teach me how to be competent. That's basically what he says. Right? I don't want to be a burden on you guys anymore.
He made like every wrong move before that. She would tell him to stay. He wouldn't. She would tell him to not talk to people. He would talk to people.
Now, I bring some of these things up because I thought it would be interesting to compare the show, which I'm sure everyone listening has watched, to the original comic, which I bought. I took some notes, sort of a pictorial essay with my phone of the comic book pages as I went. And there were some interesting differences, and I'm not sure what to make out of all of them. But first of all, Jennifer Brown, not the president in the comic book. It's someone else named Valentine. And that whole subplot with that other lady, the Republican lady who...
That was awesome.
She was unconscious in Israel because her plane crashed or something. Right. And then they revived her, and then she went back to America. What's the lady in
Congress or wherever she's at now that is like her?
Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Probably not on purpose when they started making this show, but definitely...
She wants to take her seat.
Cut. Yeah, she tries to stage a coup, basically, and take the presidency because she should have been next in line.
Along with the president's daughter, who is essentially who?
Meghan McCain.
Meghan McCain.
Oh, God. She's hard to watch sometimes. It's too good. It's too good of a Meghan McCain impersonation without being Meghan McCain. But yes, so anyway, we have a different president. Yorick still goes to Washington and winds up meeting with his mom and stuff. And he's walking around for a lot of the series in basically a cape. Like, it's supposed to be like a hooded poncho, but he just looks like a dope, doesn't he? Mm-hmm. I'm showing you this picture. He's got like a blue cape on and then the monkey on his shoulder. He looks like a freak. Anyway, so his mom's still there in Washington, but she's not at the seat of power, at least not when this comic begins. Let's see, we talked about the culper ring already. She locks Yorick up in the White House, which I think happened, I think that happened too, right? But did he get? No. He got away. He left with Agent 355 under cover of night. In the comic book, she tries to lock him in the basement of the White House or one of these buildings, and then he escapes because he's an escape artist. But that's all sort of important because a lot of people wind up seeing him when he gets out of the White House, and there's this outdoor confrontation and someone gets shot by Secret Service, like one of the protesters or something. Like, there's a whole big thing that happens, but a lot of people know he's out there, which is very different from the way the show took things on. We still have the Amazons in the comic, but their plot is wildly accelerated in the grand scheme of things. And I mentioned that because the first time we really meet Hero in the comics, we don't get any of the backstory that we got in the show. The show, the first couple episodes, were all like, here's what the world was like before everybody died. Hero was a paramedic. She had an affair with a married dude. She killed him by accident while they were fighting. And then the world ended. There's a whole thing. Here, we don't really see Hero or get to know anything about her until she's already part of the Amazons. And when we meet her, and I think this is important for the way the show could develop, she looks like this.
Huh.
What are you seeing?
Wow, she's got one boob. One boob's cut off.
So you might remember, I think, whatever her name was, the leader of the Amazons.
Roxanne. She's got one boob.
She had one boob, but she also talked about the Amazon connection. Now, she had one boob because of cancer in the before times, but do you remember what she said about the Amazons?
They cut one off because they could shoot an arrow better.
Right. Your boobs would get in the way of your bow and arrow shooting.
It's true. So it's in the way of golf.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
How?
I don't know. I'm a bad golfer.
Okay.
I don't move my torso enough, I guess.
Are you saying that successful women golfers probably have...
look it.
Well, now I'm just going to go look at a bunch of pictures of women golfers and see if they have small boobs.
Okay.
Maybe that's why they're good.
Maybe.
How you doing over there? Anyway, so she has voluntarily cut off a boob as part of this Amazon thing.
That's why?
There's more. We see other women later with their boobs missing. It's part of this Amazon post-apocalyptic cult. And we're only 6 months into the apocalypse, and women are just chopping off boobs to be part of this. I mean, it's a powerful gang. Maybe, strength in numbers, you want to be part of this, but you got to cut off a boob to join. Which I was expecting to happen. There was that scene in the Costco where this Athena, I think was what her name was, right? She comes out of this ritual. They dip her in a bathtub. They cover her in dirt, dip her in a bathtub or whatever.
I thought they were going to do something painful to her.
I thought they were going to cut a boob off. For sure, I thought they were going to cut a boob off. And the fact that they didn't really surprised me just because I had already seen this in the comic. Dr. Allison Mann, very similar so far. in the comics as what we see, except in the comic, Dr. Allison Mann thinks that she's the reason the apocalypse happened.
Ooh.
Because she fucked around with nature too much.
Neat.
The comic opens before the apocalypse hits, just like moments before the apocalypse hits, of her giving birth to what is implied is herself. Like she cloned herself and impregnated herself.
That's awesome.
And she thinks that having now violated the laws of God and man, the apocalypse must be her fault. Because like as she's giving birth, men start dropping dead. Huh. So she's carrying around some baggage.
Quite a coincidence.
She's carrying some baggage. Yeah. There was a part where Yorick gets them like passage on a train. Mm-hmm. Just trades a motorcycle for, getting on a cargo train or whatever. I just thought it was really interesting. There's a panel where Dr. Mann's like, he actually got us on board the train. And Agent 355 says, I told you, Doctor, Yorick's more resourceful than he looks. So way different portrayal of Yorick than in the
sexy.
show. In the show, Yorick is useless at everything.
He's incompetent.
He is incompetent and makes nothing but bad decisions.
Yeah.
Agent 355 says,
he makes decisions
stay here.
by his heart rather than thinking.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, he's a tender boy.
Here's another shot of Hero in the middle of a fight, teaching another Amazon a lesson. And when she like punches the Amazon, we see like the Amazon again only has one boob, like one half of her bra is doing a job and the other half's not. But she's a fucking maniac. She's yelling at this lady, look at me like that again and I'll kneel on your throat until you fucking die.
Wow.
That's Hero in the comic book. She could still evolve to be that in the show. Yeah. And then they wind up finding Hero. They wind up finding Yorick, and Hero is ready to kill him because that's what the Amazons are set out to do. They heard rumors of a man. They're following those rumors. They're tracking, and their goal is just to kill all men. Mm-hmm. But Hero's on board with it, even though she knows that it's him. She figured that part out. Now I'm going to show you. So they get him out of the prison. They get the prisoner people to hand Yorick over. And they get him out into the open, and Veronica is going to put a bullet in his head. And then this happens. What do you see?
I see a woman with an axe in her head.
That's Veronica, a.k.a. Nora in the show. So Nora doesn't become Veronica till the last episode. But here...
Victoria,
sorry. Did I say, yeah, Victoria, right? So Victoria survived season 1, but we're sort of parallel in terms of the overall plot development with the prison people and all that. But she gets an axe in her head. Yeah. And the axe was put in her head by Sonia, the girl that Yorick kind of falls for. So Victoria is out of it, and Hero winds up taking over the Amazons. And that's interesting. The last bit that was interesting. Oh, there's a subplot that doesn't mean anything yet in the comics involving Israelis. We saw Israel, but they were just helping that one crazy chick get back to health. But there's Israelis infiltrating America, a couple like special ops Israeli ladies looking for Yorick, and someone's feeding them information about where he could be, but we don't know why they're looking for him, and we don't know who's feeding him information. So I don't know. And then the last bit.
It's probably what's her name's Culper ring.
Oh, what? Someone else from the Culper ring would make sense, but then why? I guess
that's the only way they can track them.
And then the last bit of the comic book ends at the International Space Station, where we see this. What do you see?
I see a black man and a white man waving.
Well, they're just hanging out. Yeah, they're hanging out in the space. Well, the black guy says, we're going back to Earth. Oh. So yeah, there's just some people, but some of them are men hanging out in the International Space Station. So
well, that's cool.
He's not the last man after all.
Yay, which is good news. 4.
You can't rebuild all of civilization off of one dude's semen.
No.
That would be very bad genetic diversity.
Right.
You'd have some fucked up humans after a while. So interesting differences. Now, here's the big news about Why the Last Man on Hulu. It's already been canceled. What? No, I'm sorry.
Fucker!
We promised that we would talk about this show, and around the time episode, I think, 8 aired, like the second to last episode, they already announced that it would not be moving forward. And I don't think it's Hulu. It's whatever network is producing it.
Why are we even talking about this?
Because we said we would. But the showrunner is shopping it around. She's trying to find a home for it somewhere else. And I hope that they do, because I would like that story to continue.
Me too.
I did enjoy the show quite a bit.
It was a good show. It was a little slow in some parts, but it was probably necessary. Or maybe not. I don't know.
But it's really cool that we have... I mean, the show is about a dude. But he is the least consequential part of the story.
Sure.
He's just along for the ride. Ultimately, the show is about women. Mm-hmm. It's an all-female cast, except for the trans men. Mm-hmm. And I just think that that's neat. We don't really... we don't get that ever.
That's true. That's true.
It's a cool idea.
I can dig it.
And Diane Lane as president.
I know you like those weird old ladies.
I do like Diane Lane. Now she sort of pales in comparison to
me,
you, and Hannah Waddingham.
Helen Mirren. Yeah,
those are the three top ladies in my universe. You, Hannah Waddingham, Helen Mirren. So she's like number 4 or 5 on the list. Diane Lane. Mm-hmm. If she had a British accent, maybe she'd be higher up on the list. But
gotcha.
Yep. Anyway, I really enjoyed the show. It's cool and nerdy. It's based off a comic. It's got this neat apocalyptic, but in a different way kind of. We see so many apocalypses. So many apocalypses on TV nowadays.
It's coming.
But it's a different angle on it. And I think that's kind of refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. So that's our Why the Last Man mini-sode. Because, it might not be coming back. I don't want to get too invested, but I do hope it comes back. I do hope they find a new home for it. Netflix maybe could buy it for probably not that much money. Just produce a second season. That's all I'm asking.
Ugh.
Yeah. Okay, well.
My mom keeps calling me.
Now we've been going over an hour. I'll give you that much.
Yes, for sure.
So I think it's okay if we simmer things down now. We're going to be back in a couple weeks. We're going to take it easy. We're going to save up our energy. Then we're going to binge 3 episodes of Wheel of Time. We're going to come back on the weekend of, within a day or two after, to talk about that. Well, Lore Master Kevin coming back finally. And we're going to get back into just some normal fantasy nerd shit. No more apocalypses for a while.
Okay.
Okay? Just a little while. Not forever.
Sounds good.
Eventually there will be a Fallout TV series.
Mm-hmm.
But we're taking a little break from apocalypses.
Okay, I'm going to go take a bath now.
A bath? Well, that sounds nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for doing this with me, babe. Love you.
Love you.
Love all of you listening.
Love you too.
We'll be back soon with other nerd shit. Bye, everybody.
Bye.